Hello, hello. So in this question here, we're looking at functions and mappings. So basically, we've got a bunch of graphs on this page, and we're going to see for each type, what type of mapping is it? Is it one-to-one, many-to-one, many-to-many, or one-to-many? And then we're saying that if the domain can be any real x value, is that mapping, or could that mapping be a function? So could each of these represent a function? So that's what we're trying to do. So if we just go through each of these one by one now. If we start with A, hopefully you can see that every x value has one corresponding y value. Like if you picked this x value, it would correspond to this y value. This x value would correspond to this y value, and so on. So because every one x value in the domain maps onto exactly one y value in the range, this is what we call a one-to-one mapping. So I'm going to write one-to-one mapping. And one-to-one mappings are always functions. Yeah. So that is a function. So the important thing to remember overall is that one-to-one mappings and also many-to-one mappings, these both count as functions. Whereas many-to-many and one-to-many mappings, they are not functions. Yeah. So that's the main thing to remember. So if we look at this one, here again, we can see every single x value, whether I pick this one, this one, this one, this one, or this one, they all correspond to one y value. So this one is also a one-to-one mapping, and it is a function. This one here, though, see, here, each x value, like if I pick this x value here, this can correspond to two different y values. So I could go up here and then draw a line across and get this y value, or I could go down and then go across and get this y value. So a single x value in the domain actually corresponds to multiple or many y values. So this one here is called a one-to-many function. Sorry, a one-to-many mapping. Yeah, but unfortunately this one's not a function. So if each x value corresponds to more than one y, like this is not a function. Yeah, not a function. That's the important point. Okay, so that's those three. Then looking at this one down here. So this is a circle. Hopefully you can see that's a circle. And you just want to remember outright, circles are actually not functions, weirdly. And that's because they are many-to-many. For example, if I pick an x value like this, I could go up here and correspond to this y value, or I could go here and correspond to this y value. So this one x value can correspond to multiple y values. Yeah, so maybe you think it's one-to-many. But actually, to get a particular y value, like this y value, I could have got here from this x here, or from this x here. So there's also many x values that can give me a particular y value, which would kind of mean it's many-to-one. And if it's both of these things, there's actually many-to-many. So there are many x values that can give you the same or many different y values. So this one here is many-to-many. That's quite uncommon, to be fair. But very importantly, that's not a function. Okay, so remember, circles, not functions. This one here, this time, if you look here, every single x value does correspond to only one y value, except this x value here. Yeah, this one doesn't really correspond to anything. So this would be a one-to-one, because all these x values correspond to one y value. However, this x value here doesn't correspond to anything. So this actually stops it from being a function. So you could say this is a one-to-one, but it's actually not a function unless you excluded this x value from your domain. Yeah, if you excluded this x value here from your domain, then this would count as a function. But until you do that, it doesn't count as a function. And then here, we've just, by the looks of it, got like a quadratic, maybe like x squared minus something like 6. And this is a function. Each x value along here only corresponds to a single y value. So if you draw a line from any point on the x-axis, it will only hit the graph once. So this one is a 1-to-1. Actually, no, sorry. Not quite 1-to-1, because there are multiple x values that can give you the same y. For example, if I want this y value here, I could get it from this x, or I could get it from this x here. So there's many x values that give me the same one y value. So it's a many-to-one. Many-to-one. And that counts as a function. So that is a function. Okay, so I hope that's all made sense. With these ones, you really just need to practice a fair few questions and get used to it. But the main thing is just to think, going from left to right, is there any point where an x value can be mapped onto two different y values? And if that is the case, then it's either many-to-many or one-to-many, and whichever of those it is, it doesn't count as a function. But if going from left to right, each x value only ever maps onto one single y value, then that is a function because it's one of these two. If you have any questions though, then let us know down in the FAQ, and otherwise I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.